Hey everyone, Coach Kirsten here, and this is my race report for the Ironman in Arizona on November 20th, 2022. I'm just now getting around to doing my race report because I actually completely lost my voice after the race. I was sick going into the race, and doing the race just put me over the edge, and it took me a full week after the race before I could talk, and I've had all sorts of stuff going on being sick. So this is actually the first day that I feel good enough to do my race report. So yay. Anyway, so here's how it happened. I actually went into this race with the sole goal of qualifying for the World Championships in Kona. Because of the new format, the Women of Tri was offering 100 extra spots to the Kona World Championships at this race. So typically my age group gets 1 to 2 spots. It might roll down to third place, but we were getting 100 extra spots throughout all the age groups. So even if all the age groups were even as far as the numbers in the age groups, each age group would get at least about 10 extra spots. That's if all the age groups were pretty even. And as it turned out, my age group was actually the largest at Ironman Arizona, so we actually got more spots. So going into the race, that was my main goal. I wanted to also not be miserable on the bike, because my last 2 years of Ironman, I have been miserable between my crotch and my neck, and I've just not enjoyed myself at all. And so I didn't want to be miserable on the bike. I wanted to qualify for Kona, and I wanted to have a decent race. So I drove out to Arizona on Thursday and felt pretty good, although my daughter had been sick for 2 weeks leading up to this. So I'd been doubling up, tripling up on my supplements, sleeping whenever I could. I get to Arizona, I wake up Friday morning, totally sick. So head cold, congestion, nose, all congestion here, sore throat, I could barely talk. And that was on Friday, and the race was Sunday. So I took to the drugstore and pretty much got every natural remedy out there. I was slamming like the immunity shots. I think I had 8 of them each day. I was totally like, I ate a whole thing of elderberry gummies in like 3 days. I was going crazy with the vitamin C and the cold calm and all the things people told me to get, I went and got, including I did get some nighttime sleep stuff, because I know that sleep is the most important way to get better, and I wanted to be able to sleep. So I woke up, so that was Friday, felt horrible on Friday. Saturday, I woke up and it felt a little bit better as far as less of a headache, less congestion. So I repeated everything on Saturday, dropped off my gear, and got ready for the race, and repeated everything Saturday, and just woke up Sunday and hoped for the best. So water temperature. So Sunday, woke up, I had my usual, I had 2 Shakeology shakes with almond milk and my oatmeal with peanut butter and syrup. And I actually had somebody ask me about calorie intake throughout the Ironman. And so I actually did the math and figured it out. So my morning thing was 1,200 calories. So between my oatmeal and my 2 shakes was 1,200 calories in the morning. And so just if you're curious about calorie intake, throughout the race plus the morning, I estimated I took in about 6,000 calories, and my estimated output is probably like 800 calories. So that's just, people were interested in that. So I did some calculations so that I would have that data for you. So race morning, I was really grateful because I was expecting it to be freezing, and I just got done doing last month the World Championship 70.3 in St. George, where it actually was really freezing. So I was prepared. I had like 3 jackets and a hat and pants and everything, and it wasn't cold at all. It was like 50. So it felt really good. So I get to the race start. I actually took a lot, like I did that race last year, and that parking wasn't an issue last year. And for some reason it was an issue this year, and I got trapped on the street waiting about 25 minutes to get into the parking garage. So I ended up just parking somewhere on the street, and I walked like a mile into transition. So I was a little bit more rushed in transition than I wanted to. I wanted to do about a 20-minute warm up before lining up for the race. And I actually did like a 10-minute warm up, checked everything, and got to the race start. Plenty of time. It started the rolling start started at 6:50 for amateurs, age groupers. So I got there right in the front for the hour to an hour 10 wave age group wave area. It's not a wave. It's like a corral. So I felt really good going into the race. Other than I was a little under the weather, but I didn't have any aches or fevers or chills or anything like that. So it was just a matter of I couldn't breathe through my nose and my throat was really sore, which I didn't think would make a big difference in my energy or how I would perform at the race. So I was confident going in. And honestly, my big thing that I reminded myself from the very beginning, and was pretty much my mantra all through the entire race, is that I only needed to have a decent race to place to get a spot to Kona, because they were giving so many spots. I had heard that they would be giving at least 16 spots in my age group. So the top 16, I think like the times were, if you got under 13 hours, then you got a spot to Kona. And I was like, even if I don't have a stellar race, even if I have a decent race, and things go okay, I can get a spot. So I reminded myself of that so I didn't stress myself out at all the entire day. I felt really relaxed. I felt really at peace with everything. And I felt like all I need to do is get through this race in a decent time and I'll be fine. So swim, I started the swim. I felt pretty good. It was a lot colder than I had expected. So last year, I think it was like 65 degrees in the water. And this year it was like 57. Someone's watch clocked it at 57. Ironman said it was 61. I've swam in 61. It was way colder than 61. So probably about halfway through the swim, everything was numb. My face was numb. My fingers were numb. My toes were numb. I was kind of like, I didn't even know what I was doing with my arms. But luckily, I enjoy swimming. I'm a decent swimmer, so I just kept moving. On the way back, it was really, really choppy. And after the turnaround, apparently there was a headwind that I didn't realize. I felt like it was a current pushing me to the shore because I kept trying to swim toward the buoy, and the buoys kept moving further away from me. So in the end, for the final turn buoy, I had to swim straight toward the buoy, and it really took everything I had. I was swimming as strong as I possibly can, and I felt like I was barely getting there. So I had no idea what my swim time was. I was thinking it was going to be more like 1:15, but when I looked later, it was 1:08, which I'm very happy with those conditions. This is my 19th Ironman, and it was hands down the hardest swim I've ever done in any of the Ironmans. Hardest swim, easily the hardest swim out of any of my Ironmans. So if you did this race and you struggled on the swim and it was your first race, so you think all Ironman swims are like this, they're not. It was really cold and really, really choppy. So just know you did great. So ran up, it's a pretty long run to transition, and it's on hard concrete. So my feet were numb. I don't really know what I was doing running, but a week later, the only thing that's sore on me from the race is the bottoms of my feet. So I was running weird. I did something, my heels, the balls of my feet are still really sore from whatever I did on that run. My fingers were numb in transition. I could not do anything. I couldn't put on my socks. I couldn't put on my shoes. I couldn't put on my helmet. I couldn't put my nutrition in my pouch, in my pockets. I could do nothing. So 100% of what happened in transition was the volunteers helping me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I would have had to sit in transition for 10 minutes, warming up my hands to have been able to get dressed to get out on the bike. So they did everything for me. So thank you, volunteers. So because I was so cold in St. George and failed to put on warm clothes, I told myself no matter how I was feeling, whether the air was warm or whatever, I'm going to wear clothes, extra clothes, a jacket. I actually forgot to bring my jacket to the race. And so I went to Walmart the day before and I was just going to get like a cheapy throwaway jacket. I could not find a woman's jacket or a man's jacket. So I bought a boy's size extra, extra large, which came up to here on me. But it fit in the body. And it was very awkward, very weird feeling, but I'm so glad I had it. So I put on a jacket. It's like a windbreaker. I put on gloves and I put on socks and went out on the bike, and it was windy, windy, windy. But last year it was windy, windy, windy too. And so I was expecting it to be windy. So super windy heading out there. My first like section of the bike split was like 14 miles per hour. It was so slow because that wind was so vicious. Luckily this year, the wind let up as the day went on, whereas last year the wind got worse as the day went on. So as I got more tired, there was less wind. So again, thank you for that. But very, very windy. I stayed down in my aero bars. I was feeling confident and comfortable in my aero bars, which was awesome for the bike. I was warm. I was plenty warm. And so everyone was in the wind. That's how it is. I stopped at mile 25 to take off my jacket, take off my gloves. I also, I got a back bottle holder on my bike, which I can't reach riding my bike. So when I stopped, I just pulled that water bottle out, refilled my water, did all that stuff. So I spent probably 4 minutes and I went to the bathroom. Okay, so here's the thing. My time wasn't as good as I wanted it to be, but I also stopped 3 times on the bike and 4 times on the run to go to the bathroom. I think all that cold medicine, all that weird stuff I was just pumping into I was melting things under my tongue every hour for 2 straight days. I think all that medicine did something to my digestive system, and I had to stop 7 times during the day to go to the bathroom. So I'm super happy with my time with how much I had to stop. So that was my first stop at mile 25. So I continued on. I was feeling better as the ride went. I was warming up. The wind was less and less. I was feeling pretty strong. And mile 50 was where our special needs bags were. So I stopped there, went to the bathroom again. I also Vaselined up my crotch. So if you're watching this and you're like, why would you do that? Chafing from my saddle has been a big issue with me. I've tried tons of different saddles. I like my saddle better than any saddle I've had, but I still chafe. So I just threw a bunch of Vaseline down there and then switched out my water bottles because I had 3 bottles in special needs and I had 3 on my bike. So switched everything out, continued on. And then at mile 80, I stopped again to fill up my water or switch out my water bottles because I couldn't reach back anyway, and go to the bathroom again and rub down with a ton of Vaseline again. And I'm so glad I did this because in the past, like I was saying, I'm always so miserable on the bike that I think stopping 3 times to like get situated to stop, I stretched out my neck a little bit, Vaselined up my crotch. I think even though each stop, my stops probably equaled 15 minutes. So it added 15 minutes to my bike time, but it made it so much less miserable. So I think as I'm getting older, I'm just like, I don't want to like be uncomfortable. I just don't, it's not worth it to me to be on the bike for 6 hours in pain. Like if I'm going to be on the bike at 6 hours, I want to be like kind of whatever, kind of comfortable. So I ended up finishing the bike. So my transition was about 10 minutes, which for like not being able to feel anything, I was happy with that. It was a long transition run. My bike was a little over 6 hours. I want to say it was like 6:10, 6:07, something like that, which is slower than I'd wanted. My time last time was 5:55. But I think my actual bike time was probably the same. It was those extra stops, which were worth it to me. Because again, all I was thinking, I wasn't stressed out. I was like, if you have an okay race, then you're going to make your goal and get a spot for Kona. So I just, I enjoyed myself a little bit more than I have definitely in the past few years of racing. So I get off my bike. I was happy to get off my bike. Like I said, the wind did get better. My times, my averages got a little bit better. It was like 18 point something for my average overall for the bike. And then second transition was easy because I was finally thawed out. It took about half the bike for me to get thawed out. Threw on my socks and shoes and took off running. I felt amazing. I did perfect on my bike nutrition. I did 6 bottles of Infinite, and I did a package of blocks, ProBar Bolt blocks, and then I did 2 Morton gels, which I'd never tried before. Don't try anything new on race day. But I felt like I needed the extra calories, so I took 2 gels. So started off on the run. My second transition was about 5 minutes, and I felt really, really good. I felt great the entire run, actually. Based on my last couple races, I feel like I did need more calories on the run. So I drank my 4 bottles of Infinite. So you drink 1 each hour. But then at every other aid station, the aid stations are about every mile. Every other aid station, I did take a Morton gel. And I alternated between caffeinated and non-caffeinated. And if you've never had them, they're like jelly. So it's a really weird consistency. And I didn't know if I'd be able to deal with it because I'd never had one until the race. So I took half of it and just like swallowed it with a cup of water, like a pill, and then took the other half and swallowed it with another cup of water. So I did that every other aid station. And overall, with my 4 bottles of Infinite and the Morton gels, my nutrition was perfect. I never felt like it was a lack of energy or I didn't have any stomach problems. It was amazing because typically I have a ton of GI issues in a race. So I will definitely be doing that for the future. So my run, again, I felt really good the whole time. I think I ran for what I was trained to run. I ended up with a 4:12, I think was my time. And I wanted under 4 hours, but I stopped 4 times to go to the bathroom. So I feel like if I took out the times that I had to stop, then I would be great with, I would have made my times. At first I was taking off I have a 1-piece race kit. I was taking it off, going to the bathroom, putting it back on. Even one of the race pictures, the race photos, was literally me running, putting it back on, which is a lot of energy. It's a lot of coordination. You're running kind of slow. And then finally, after the 3rd time, I was like, why am I putting this back on? So I actually finished the race. My finish photo is my kit is down and I'm just wearing my sports bra. That was the smartest thing to do, is to just keep it down. Temperatures were perfect on the bike and the run. I think it was like 70 of a high. I don't remember if it was sunny or cloudy at all. I just remember I never felt like really hot. I mean, I still poured water over my head. I was warm, put some ice down my top a couple times, but it was never hot. It was never cold. So the temperatures were really perfect. So my overall time, and so on the run, one thing that kept me going, because if ever you've run a marathon, especially a marathon at the end of an Ironman, you always want to walk. I don't know anyone who's like, nope, never thought about walking the whole time. I asked someone at mile 18. So I don't wear a watch when I race. So I didn't know like how I was doing. I could just kind of speculate. But I asked somebody what time it was at mile 18, and I did some math, and I was like, if I keep running and maintain a 10-minute pace, I will finish under 11 hours. Under 12 hours. And in my mind, I was thinking, if I can get under 12 hours, I will make the top 10. So whenever I felt like walking, I would just tell myself, all you have to do is get under 12 hours. All you have to do is keep running. You don't even have to run fast. Because I knew if I just kept running, if I start walking, I want to keep walking. It feels good to walk. It gets dark really early there. It was already getting dark. So I'm just like, you just keep running. You'll get under 12 hours and you'll make the top 10. No pressure. It doesn't have to be a stellar performance. Just keep moving. So I finished the race. I ended up with 11:40 was my time. I was ecstatic with that. Not the best time, not the worst time. It actually put me in 5th place. So I was really excited about that, to podium, to get a 5th place. And so, yes, I did get a spot to Kona. And yeah, it was a great race. I wasn't feeling that hot going into the race. I gave everything I could for that day. The next day I woke up, I was trashed. I had a fever. I was achy. My throat hurt. Like, everything was bad, but I didn't care because I did well in the race, and that was my goal. That's what I went out there to do. So yeah, I think it's a great race. I've done it 3 times now. One time was a long time ago, like 2004, when it was the first year they ever had it, and it was in April, so it's a lot different, but I do remember it being windy. But I've done the new course 2 times. The run was different this year, so instead of being 3 loops, the run was 2 longer loops, and they were both the same to me as far as, did I prefer one over the other? No, they're both the same. So the bike is 3 loops, the run is 2 loops now, the swim was 1 giant loop, which I like. And yeah, I would say it's a great race. It's funny though, because people are like, oh, if you want a flat, fast race, go to Arizona. I've never had a fast race at Arizona. Like those, I've never had any of my fastest times at Arizona because it's always been windy. But the course isn't hilly. It just has an incline 3 times out the Beeline Highway and then a slight decline coming back. And if you look at the professionals' times, they're still doing like 18 miles per hour out and then like 30 miles per hour back. So it still averages out to a pretty fast time, but it is really windy. So that was my experience. I had a great experience. I'm really proud of myself and my performance. I'm really happy that I get to go to Kona one more time. It'll be my 20th Ironman in October of 2023, and that is a great place to end the Ironman distance. The only time I would ever do one again, if Cora got older and she wanted to do an Ironman and wanted me to do one with her when I'm like 80, I'll do that. I'll train for it. I'll do that. Other than that, I'm happy with my halves. And yeah. So if you have any questions about the course, I've done it twice now, so I might be able to help, or to help you decide if this is the right race for you to have your best race ever. And that's it. So I will see you guys next time. All right. Bye.